This is Daily Armenia, ＳիվիլNet's daily news digest. Here's what you need to know today. Armenia's border regions were rattled over the weekend by a series of ceasefire violations by Azerbaijan. The shooting began Friday as the Armenia-EU-United States summit in Brussels was concluding, an event which Azerbaijan repeatedly warned would lead to an escalation of tensions. Throughout the weekend, Azerbaijani units fired at Armenian positions along the borders of Armenia's Tavush, Gekhargonik, and Sunik regions. Armenia's Ministry of Defense said the majority of the shootings were irregular and not targeted. Andranik Kocharyan of the Parliament's National Defense and Security Committee attributed the shootings, which he called pointless, to Azerbaijan's hysterical manifestations. He did not consider them to be an indication of a military escalation. Meanwhile, over the weekend, Foreign Minister Ararat Mirzoyan indicated during an interview with public television that there are two primary issues in the negotiation process over which Armenia and Azerbaijan are still far apart. One is the mutual recognition of territorial integrity and the corresponding demarcation process, while the other is related to the restoration of transport links. The demarcation issue has been highly visible as of late, with Azerbaijan making unilateral demands on Armenia to hand over territory while continuing to occupy sovereign Armenian land. Mirzoyan said Armenia is ready to sign an agreement to restore infrastructure links with Azerbaijan and to simplify existing crossing procedures, but will not tolerate that forces of third countries will stand along the road or railway, or that someone will enter or leave Armenia without the simplest passport and custom controls. This is a reference to Azerbaijan's insistence that it be given a corridor through Armenia without any checks, which would be monitored by Russian border guards. The European Union continues to call on Azerbaijan for the safe right of return of displaced people to Nagorno-Karabakh. In an interview with Radio Azatuchun, RFE-RL's Armenian service, the EU's foreign relations spokesperson Peter Stano noted, "We continue to appeal to our Azerbaijani partners to provide assurances and tell these people very frankly and clearly that they can return without any threat or concern, that their property must be respected as well as cultural and religious symbols. This issue is not closed, and we raise it every time we have the opportunity." However, Stano was careful to state that the EU cannot impose solutions on any party, and that a normalization deal will need to be reached at the negotiations table between Armenia and Azerbaijan. Regarding last Friday's tripartite summit between Armenia, the EU, and US, Stano said it was proof Brussels and Yerevan are getting closer to each other based on shared determination. Visa liberalization and Armenia's application to join the European Peace Facility, a funding instrument that provides military aid to non-member countries, are of highest priority for Armenia in its relations with the EU. Stano insisted neither issue is being delayed, but that both take time as they are very technocratic processes which require the approval of all EU members. A group of leading Armenian civil society organizations issued a statement Friday expressing their solidarity with their Georgian counterparts after Georgian authorities reintroduced controversial draft legislation targeting civil society organizations and the media. The bills target Georgian NGOs, which receive more than 20% of their funding from foreign sources. Critics compare the law to one enacted by Russian President Vladimir Putin to crush dissent in his country. The Georgian government previously removed the bill from consideration a year ago after mass protests. The statement from more than 20 Armenian civil society organizations and individuals states that the concept of foreign influence highlighted by the bills is associated with the promotion of conspiracy theories, which are used to perpetrate human rights violations and persecute innocent people, both in Armenia and in Georgia. They continued, "We support you for showing courage and standing up against the Georgian government's consistent and persistent efforts to restrict civil liberties and fundamental human rights." The EU, which granted Georgia candidacy status just months ago, stated it regrets the bill's reintroduction and called on Georgia to uphold its commitment to the promotion of democracy, the rule of law, and human rights. Ruben Vardanyan was nominated for the 2024 Nobel Peace Prize for his charitable and humanitarian activities. According to his office, The nomination was linked to his philanthropic work and efforts aimed at introducing tools for long-term stability and humanitarian development. The Nobel Prize Committee accepts nominations from a range of figures, including government officials, academics, and past laureates. The names of those who nominated Vardanyan have not been disclosed. Vardanyan is currently in Azerbaijani captivity with a pending criminal case after his arrest on September 27th following the assault on Nagorno-Karabakh. The Peace Prize recipient will be announced this fall and awarded on December 10th in Oslo, Norway. For the latest economic news from Armenia, check out our weekly business digest. This week, Armenia's monetary authorities gave their preliminary approval to the sale of Ameriabank, one of the country's largest lenders, to the Bank of Georgia Group. Also, the long-stalled and controversial Amulsar gold mining project may begin work as soon as the end of the year. Find the broadcast link in the description below. And as always, please follow CivilNet for the latest news and independent reporting from our contributors on the ground here in Armenia.